All right, Mike, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So just to give you a pretext, we wanted to create this podcast so we can share ideas among creative people in Toronto and create a community for creatives where they can come in and share information, get involved, or learn from, all of us, so we can learn from each other. One of the things we want to do in this podcast, we want to break the myth. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but this is one of the questions I'll ask you, is that Toronto doesn't have a supportive creative community. My experience has been completely different. I have been supported by many people. So I just kind of want to break the myth as well. So having said that, we'll get into it. But
of course.
But why don't we start, Mike, with your background?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us how you kind of got into acting first?
Oh, boy. So I originally went to the U of T to become a doctor. My entire childhood, I knew I wanted to be in science, not only because I was very interested in that stuff and I was good at science, but also because my mom had a heart condition and needed the help of cardiologists, and seeing how they took care of her and how much they brought into our lives and into my mom's life to make her better, as good as she could be. I wanted to do the same thing. I've always wanted to help people. And so as a child, I saw doctors are who help people. And I also had my own struggles with health, especially at a young age. I was born with a very weakened immune system. So I spent a lot of time sick, especially in my first 10 years of life. I spent more than a third of a school year at home, Oh, wow. In bed. So doctors were a large part of my life, and I just wanted to become one of them. And because I was good at science anyways, I was like, yeah, this is definitely meant to be. So I went to university with every intent to become a doctor. So I majored in human biology. Mind you, I also majored in sociology. And
so you actually finished the 4 undergrad in science?
I did,
Wow.
but I finished it after deciding I wanted to try acting.
Well, so when, what year did you
Second
decide?
year, I had some friends who were game developers,
Okay.
in school.
Like animation?
Video games.
Video games? Okay.
Like programming.
Okay.
And that stuff. So they were doing a class project, just to make a little video game. And I was known back then for doing stupid voices. I would just change my voice and just be silly. And they're like, well, Michael, we need somebody to voice a couple of our characters. And since you do stupid voices, can you use those stupid voices for our game? I'm like, yeah, for sure. And, so I had a PC, big giant tower back then, and I had a microphone that came with my computer. And so I started recording some voices for them. And I was like, wow,
Was this scripted, or was it mainly freestyling?
No. It was scripted.
Okay.
For their game. But I really enjoyed that. And then I did it again. They came back to me later for a different project. And I'm like, something is different in me. It's like a switch got flipped on. And out of nowhere, I don't know what inspired me, but I started writing little trailers, parody trailers for my favorite anime, for my favorite movies. And I would voice all the characters in my trailers, and I would make fun of everything. And
you're doing all of this because something triggered inside you when you were doing that?
Just something switched on, and it's like everything came flooding into my head one day.
Wow.
I had all these ideas, and the way I would write everything down. I was like, I need to do this.
And have you had, sorry, I keep interrupting, Mike, but
it's okay.
Have you had any sort of, did you do any acting in high school, or any sort of arts and crafts, anything
I mean, I could draw okay. When I was in grade school, I was in band. Okay. So I played the saxophone. I started learning piano when I was 13 and stopped when I was 19. Okay. Because university was priority for me. So, but that's it. Acting was never a thought. The only kind of, I guess you could call it exposure, was just my parents would take me to see a movie almost every weekend. That was it. Because my dad was a very busy man. So weekends were his family time. So he would take us to a movie every Saturday. Other than that, no, I never nothing.
That's kind
Nothing.
of because a lot of the times when you hear a switch like that happening, people talk about like all these years of training, unconscious training, or something, and then suddenly something clicks. But in your case, that wasn't the case. You just did it once, and you loved it so much that you kind of gravitated towards it. Like, that's interesting.
I always joke that I was bitten by a radioactive acting bug.
Yeah.
That transformed me into your friendly neighborhood thespian.
Yeah. So going back to, you were kind of writing down character.
Yeah. So I was creating my own scripts, and I recorded everything, and I used to be part of a bunch of different like anime message boards, and I would post the MP3 file. I'm like, hey guys, what do you think? And people seemed to enjoy it, and I just kept going. And in third year, I went to my parents. I'm like, okay, this is going to be weird. I know I'm in pre-med, but I want to at least try acting. And that was a shock for them because they're like, okay.
I want to hear because this is so close to me, Mike, because we're both like a first, like, second, first generation, like immigrant family in Canada.
Yeah.
But how did you actually, I want to know, did you actually sit them down? Like, how did this work? Like, I want to know
I did. Well, I mean,
like,
I saw I lived in residence, but I saw my parents on the weekends anyways. Like, we kept up to the weekend tradition, just without the movies.
Yeah.
I didn't have time for that. But, and so, yeah, like we sat down at dinner at a restaurant. And I was like, so Mom and Dad.
This is a good idea because when they're eating, they're not.
Oh, yeah. And it's in public. It's in public. They can't do anything to me.
Yeah, they can't kill you, right? So.
And they can't raise their voices. And it's a Chinese restaurant, so we have etiquette. But yeah, like I sat them down. I'm like, I'm this is what I've been doing, and I've developed a love for acting. And as you know, my grades haven't suffered. I haven't, I do a lot of extracurriculars. I'm fine. So, like, what are your thoughts? And now my mom, when she was young, how her life was she wanted to be a backup dancer for singers.
So she does have a little background in the arts.
In a way.
Okay.
But her parents discouraged her from going there because they felt that there wouldn't be a life for her, and they didn't want her to be sexualized later on. And it's a difficult.
This is not
industry.
in Canada, is it?
No, this is in Hong Kong.
Okay. Yeah.
My dad was a stage actor and a Chinese poetry champion. Chinese poetry.
There you go.
reader.
We just solved the mystery.
Oh, I know. I have art on both sides.
So he was an actor, like a stage actor?
Like a stage actor when he was a student,
okay.
Right? And he was in drama, and he did really well, and he won awards, and he was also a championship, an award-winning Chinese poetry reader.
Wow.
He's so well known for poetry reading that when he immigrated to Canada, he was asked to judge Chinese poetry readings at Chinese schools in the GTA. So,
did you knew all of this?
Oh, I knew all this.
Okay.
So, but neither of them ended up in the arts, right? My dad became a realtor. My mom was a nurse for a doctor before becoming an accountant. Both of them took had practical jobs because they needed to survive. They came to Canada with almost nothing. And their history is difficult with having to escape from China and stuff like that. It's hard. And so for them, like, having a practical career that's stable is the way to go. So when I told them what I wanted to try, mind you, in my heart, I knew I wanted it. Like, I didn't. It wasn't
like, even
trying.
if they didn't approve it, you would have.
Oh, I would have found a way.
Okay.
But my parents said, "Okay, Michael, if this is what you want to do, then our requirements are the following: you finish your degree, and you also take the SAT. You also take the MCAT.
Wow.
And just in case, you take the LSAT as well." And furthermore, get your real estate license, because you're going to need it if you become an actor.
Well, with certainty, they're like, if you become an actor, you'll need
then
this.
I would work with my dad.
Yeah.
Which I do now. I do work with my dad.
Okay.
As a realtor outside of acting.
So did you do all of that?
I did everything.
Oh,
I did
wow.
every
How long did
single
that take
thing.
you?
4 years.
4 years after that conversation?
Yes.
Okay.
I immediately started to try to get my real estate license.
Okay.
I did take all of those tests, but it took time also because like it's a lot of studying.
Yeah.
And in that time, I also, like I said, I finished my degree.
Yeah.
So, I have a bachelor's of science in human biology. And and then I studied and I also started researching how to become an actor. And
I got to say, because I know U of T because I went to graduate school there, and I know how hard that program is that you were in.
it is.
So I was like, how did you manage to do all of this while you were studying full time?
I don't know. I slept at 3 a.m., got up at 6 a.m.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
yeah, and I did all this stuff and had extracurriculars. I was part of the U of T tabletop gaming club. I did archery for a while. I never stopped. I just did what I could.
So you finished this in 4 years after that conversation. You finished all the requirements they gave you.
Essentially, yeah. Well, basically, the way it was is by 2006, I was in film school.
Okay, and which film school did you go to?
Toronto Film School.
And
Back then, it was part of the International Academy of Design and Technology, and it was in the CBC Building. It's not anymore.
okay. And did you get any help with tuition, or did you finance it all by yourself, or how did that work?
I had some help from my parents, and I also was working. So
Okay.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
How long is the program?
The program for my program was 2 years.
Okay. And was it like an acting program?
Well, mine was acting for film and television.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of focus on learning the history of acting, and then training for the screen. But they also trained us in voice, in stage.
Oh, wow.
They tried to train us in every aspect. There was even a writing course.
Wow.
They tried to make us well-rounded, and their teachers were supposed to all be like people working in their industry. But the thing about me was that I wasn't content to just learn. I went and did. So I volunteered myself to other programs, like the production programs, to be an actor in their projects.
Mm-hmm.
And I also attempted to go out and try to find my own work. Wasn't very successful at first, but yeah.
Did they teach you? So a couple of things I want to unpack here, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So at school, how much like did they teach you that you can apply to your actual like professional acting life now? Like besides the theoretical part, like do you think you need to go? Because a lot of people tell me that you go to school, all the theory part and all the study part you can do on your own. What they actually help you with is gives you the industry knowledge.
So
what's your take on that?
Without knocking the school, because I don't want to, and it's everyone's decision what path they go on.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that my own path might not have needed that school.
Okay.
Mind you, if people, like, it depends on when you find out, like when you decide you want to do this.
Why did you decide to go to school though? Like, why did you take on that?
Because that's my practical side of my brain. It's the scientific side. You want to do something, you go learn. Mm. And here's the thing, as an actor, you need to get an education of some kind, right? If you can get one at, like, say, York or U of T or Sheridan, any of those universities that are colleges that have a good, solid, accredited film or theater program, do it. If you can, do it. I highly recommend it. It's not everything you learn there is going to be useful, and there's a lot of theory, but it's good for your resume and it's good for a way in and to understand the background and the theory behind acting. After that, the best option, I would always say, is not a film school, but instead to find acting programs with recognized acting, like well-known acting coaches like Louis Beaumander or Rooney, or Altair Gurel. And, my mentor was Vladimir Bondarenko after the school. I graduated from school, and, going to different teachers again, who are known for being good teachers, will give you a different perspective on how to come to the emotions that, because, everyone's different. I know, people talk about different techniques like the method or Stanislavski and all that. And I know all of those things, but I don't come at every single emotion the same way. I can't, but maybe some people do. So get a well-rounded education by going to take different programs, different workshops, going to different teachers, and figure yourself out.
How did you said you had a mentor after you finished your school?
So Vladimir did teach at the school. He taught acting for film. Out of all my teachers, he was the one who believed in me the most. But there was something else. He knew how to unlock. He understood how to help me unlock my ability to tap into my emotions better than any other teacher I ever had at that school. They're not bad teachers. It's just that he understood me. So after I graduated from the school, I contacted him for private coaching lessons. And that's where I really dug in and tried to sort myself out as an actor.
That's great.
And I still go to him when I need to for different scenes, auditions, my work. But I have gone out and trained with others and discovered other techniques that there are to come at characters. And it's been very beneficial to me over the years.
Wow, that's great, Mike. How many people were in your class in that program?
Well, when I started, there were 2 classes.
Okay.
And I think around 60 people. By the final term, we had, I think, 15 people, and I think 12 of us graduated.
From 60 to 12?
60 to 12, so one class. We combined classes, and then
It's like almost like 1/6. Like that's...
And not all of us are working. So I'm the only union actor in my class. We have 1 model, 1 non-union actor, and me. That's it.
Wow. So has been a common recurring theme, Mike. For all the people, actually so far, the people that we have interviewed, a lot of them went to, for example, we interviewed a dancer. She went to dance school and she said the exact same thing. From our program, it's like 1% of them are like working full-time right now.
Yeah.
We actually have a videographer who's working with us. He went to Sheridan to study film, and he said the same thing as you did. So I guess, do you think, so I guess what I'm getting at, Mike, is do you think this is changing like right now? Because a lot of people like yourself who's gone through the formal education of art, they're not advocating that anymore. Do you think this is a common recurring theme? Like, how do you think it's changing and going forward?
Well, art isn't an easy thing to go into, right? At the end of the day, when it comes to the way society views art, they don't see it as a practical or even a job at all sometimes.
How do you see art?
I mean, art isn't everything, right? Everything we do, it's all around us. To dismiss art as nothing but a hobby and to not view it as something that people can make a living on or view it as lesser than other jobs is wrong. Because art is life, and without art, we'd be dead inside.
Absolutely.
So, to answer your previous question, it is a difficult area. And I'm just going to speak on acting then, because I can't speak for other art. But as like acting, a lot of people try to get into it, and not a lot of people can survive it. And it could be everyone has different reasons. A lot of it is it takes a long time to build a career. There are the lucky ones who, show up and within 2 years are working constantly, but that's rare. That's the exception. Most people have to spend decades building a career. And I'm one of those, I'm in my 17th year. And only about 3 years ago did I start really working consistently as an actor. Prior to that, I struggled. There were years I didn't work at all as an actor, and all I did was audition. So it takes perseverance. It takes intelligent management of money and time, and to be willing to accept the rejection. One of my teachers back at film school said something. It's about acting. It's every person who becomes an actor is probably a little bit crazy, because an audition is essentially a job interview. And how many people on this planet are willing to job interview several hundred times a year and get rejected several hundred times a year?
Wow. That's a great way of putting it. And it's true. I guess it kind of segues into my next question, Mike, because you mentioned you struggled for a long time before you finally got a break. How did you, so before I get into how you got your break, how did you manage to keep yourself motivated? It's hard, like telling you no in your face, like over and over again, over and over again.
Actually, no one asked me how I kept afloat. You're first. It wasn't easy.
I hope it's not a stupid question.
No stupid questions. No, this is important. I did several things. I mean, I kept educating myself. I kept going to more and more workshops and just staying creative. You know, I also use social media in creative ways as it developed to try to just, again, keep creative. But I just never gave up. I just kept telling myself, one of these days someone's going to see my worth. It's just a matter of time. It's an absolute unwavering belief. No matter how many times I did cry or want to give up, and there were many times, it's this unwavering belief in myself. On top of that, coupled with that, is the nonstop support of my friends who also believed in me, and my wife. She always knew that I had it in me to actually turn this into, turn myself into a working actor, because she saw what I had in me. My parents, my mom was the one who always supported me the most in this. She believed in my ability. My dad is more practical minded, so he supported, but begrudgingly. But yeah, like it takes a community. It takes a family. It
takes a village.
It's hard to go at this alone. Really, it does. And it's why even like when I was struggling, I still took whatever knowledge, whatever I had, and I would occasionally help my mentor, Vladimir. I would assistant teach with him, or I'd be a guest panelist at some of his business of acting classes, so I can relay to students, new people who are looking to become actors, just how hard it was for me, and to let them understand the realities of what they were getting into, and to encourage them to not give up. If they can, keep going, never stop.
Wow, that was it's absolutely, you're doing like basically you're actually grinding, you're hustling. And a lot of people don't see that when they see you on screen. I bet like they don't see how many rejections you had.
No,
I bet it's countless over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's thanks for sharing that, Mike. I can attest to that a lot. Well, a couple of things. First is what you said about art and society. Society thinks art as something lesser. I've noticed when I tell people I'm a photographer, they see me in a different way, as opposed to before when I was working in an investment industry in finance. What I would tell people I'm in finance, they would look at me in a much more, it's stupid, but in a respectable way, like as if I'm smarter. But I'm not, I'm not any different person. I'm just doing a different profession right now.
Yeah. But
people see you in a completely different light. Do you think it's because how our society is constructed that way? That's why we see art as a lesser sort of career path?
Well, I mean, I think we live in a capitalistic society, so there's, especially from people at the top, there's a general culture of thinking that what is your worth to society, and if you're not actually like working at, say, a 9-to-5 office job,
or just making money,
contributing, and I put that in quotations, contributing, what good are you? And they see your contributions as essentially making money, putting food on table, roof overhead, raising a family, and that's it. Like, they don't think outside of that. And, people need, like, look at this pandemic. What did people flock to when they were stuck at home? They flocked to art. Art kept people sane. Absolutely. Art kept us together.
Absolutely.
And to think of us artists as lesser is just ridiculous to me, because we contribute as much to society as everyone else.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike, for sharing that. What are some of the attributes you would say that kind of helped you? I know one of the things you said is just to keep at it, like, and the other thing you mentioned was you were going through this different workshop. You kind of studied all these things. You kept yourself busy.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other factors of success, would you say, that kind of helped you get your first break, or like, becoming a more busy working professional, actor, I guess?
Again, this is it's more about my career. I don't want to say that my framework will work for everybody. Okay. But the way I came about acting is I had a long-term goal in mind. So I set goals. And I was at first unwilling, so this is something I had to learn, be willing to accept change. So I had my first agent was terrible. No offense to them, but they were terrible. So I left them after a year. But my second agent, I got along with them, and they got me some work at first, but they did push me into the union too fast. That's a whole different animal.
And this is ACTRA?
ACTRA, yeah.
Okay.
ACTRA. I already knew that I should build a good non-union base of work, a resume, demo, and all that before I even attempted the union. It's just that I thought my one page of credits and the demo I had was enough. I was wrong. So it doesn't matter. My agent pushed me, and so I joined a union, and then I struggled. But here's the thing. I stayed with my second agent for 9 years.
How did you struggle? Sorry.
My auditions started to drop no matter how much I trained, no matter how much I updated my package, my submission package, no matter how much I tried to communicate with my agents.
Why was that?
Multiple reasons, one of which was the failing of my agent. They were never right for me.
Okay.
And I kind of felt that way, I would say 5 years in. But I was too afraid of change, too afraid to be unloyal. And I just thought, you know what? If I just kept at it and stuck with them, I know it will work. Just got to keep communicating and keep building, my base of education, keep improving. I thought back then, I also thought maybe it was my weight. So I started to really lose weight. I got down to 157 pounds at one point.
150. How tall are you?
I'm 6 feet tall.
Whoa.
That was quite thin.
That can be healthy.
Oddly enough, I was okay, but I wouldn't recommend it. That was a little. It's just I did all these things.
Yeah.
I just kept trying everything, and if you keep working on yourself and there's no change, you have to be willing to accept change in other areas as well. So one of the things that happened 4 years ago was I finally said enough is enough. As much as it hurt me, and I was terrified, I was scared, I went and started interviewing other agents. And I ended up where I am now with Hero Artists. And my agents are Brianne Thorderson and Jessica Martins. And the difference between my two agents was almost immediate. I went from, in my 9th year with my previous agent, I was auditioning 1 time a month, to within the first month of joining Hero, I was auditioning 1 time a week.
Wow.
At the start. Now I audition more than that. So it was the understanding of how to, because a lot of people, they look at agents as kind of like their boss, right? Actors tend to put their agents above themselves. That's not how it works. When you find an agent, it should be a partnership. You should be equals. You are working together to build a career together. And I interviewed some larger agencies than Hero, and I got offers from several agencies. I chose Hero for the specific reason that they came to me with a game plan for what my goals were when I interviewed with them. And they told me it would be a lot of hard work. It would be a grind. I wouldn't reach my goals immediately. It would take years. But this is the game plan. And if you sign with us, we're going to enact it, and it's going to work out, hopefully. Because they believed in me. They saw my work, and they're like, you are good. You shouldn't be auditioning one time a month. That's just ridiculous. And they were right. So that's the thing. You have to look at every part of what you're doing to further your acting career, and be willing to change the parts that are not working, even if it's difficult. Because I'm a very loyal person in real life and in my career. And, I didn't know how to say no, but now I do.
So maybe that's a great point, Mike. For new actors who are coming into the industry now, I want to ask you for overall advice, but before that, let's continue with this theme of selecting the right agent. Mm-hmm. What would your advice be to them to select their agent? Like, what should they look out for?
Okay, so first and foremost, ACTRA, my union, actually has a list of accredited agents, mm-hmm. and who are part of certain. They have certain certifications with groups like TAMIC, for example. That means that if the agent's part of TAMIC, they have to work under a certain set, like a code of conduct. So these types of TAMIC and EIC agencies are the ones you should be looking at. And again, if you go to ACTRA's website, they actually have a list of agencies with these accredited.
You can get that list even if you're not part of ACTRA?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah? Okay. It's public.
Yeah.
And then they also have a list of what they call the no checklist, which are basically agencies known to be kind of scammy.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, very. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, and they just think, "Oh, well, I'm not a union member. Why should I go on their website?"
We'll put the link with
the guys. Like, no, go to the website, guys. Seriously, it's a wonderful resource. I mean, ACTRA wants everyone eventually to be union. So, if they're not willing to help non-union actors succeed, then how are they ever going to get non-union actors to want to be part of the union? They have to be here. Even if you're not a member, they have to be here for you. And that is what ACTRA tries to do. They try to be here for all of us. But yes, the other thing is if you go and interview with an agency and they ask for money up front, run, stand up, walk out that door. Don't continue a conversation because an agency only takes money as a commission from the work you do. They should not be asking you to pay them for acting classes, headshots, administrative fees, unless you're doing background. That's a different thing altogether. If you are looking for a background agency, they usually have an administrative fee. That's different. But for principal agencies, do not pay them up front, because that's where they're making their money. They're not going to try to push you.
Mm. Okay, so go with the list that's in the ACTRA website. Do not pay money up front. And
ask around, right? Talk to people. There are so many different groups on Facebook for actors and for the industry. If there is an agency you're kind of interested in, and you don't know, you can't really find much about it, go on there and just ask, like, who, what have you guys heard about this agency? There's a lot of people who come on these Facebook groups because I'm part of them, and they ask, and people give honest opinions and then give suggestions. So for where else to look, or if it's a good agency, go interview with them. There is a lot of help. Social media, if there's one thing I know, is that it has helped a lot in trying to bring the community together, and you can get a lot of information and a lot of help and support, especially when you're starting out and you don't know much and you're just trying to find your way through this very complicated industry. There's a lot of help out there. So don't go in it blind, and don't, always ask people and talk to people and find resources.
That's great advice, Mike. What are there any other hubs except the social media hubs, like anywhere where people or up and coming actors can kind of go and then see what it's like? Because I feel like the real life experience, like what you went through, how much of it did you know graduating from acting school that this is what I'm up against?
None.
Yeah, so that's what how can we make this information available for?
So one of the things I always tell actors to do when you're starting out, 100%, get a background agent and start doing background work on productions, major productions.
Why is that?
Because you get to see exactly what it's like on a set. You get to see how things are done. You learn. Don't just sit there and like, I see some people, they just sit there and read books and play their Nintendo Switch or something. You know, like, I'm not trying to knock on them. Maybe they need to de-stress or whatever. But if you have the time and you have the motivation, you know, as a background actor, just watch, observe, and learn from everything that's around you. Also, doing background acting is such a wonderful way to network. It's how I met so many of my friends, especially at the beginning, and I still know them to this day, is because I did a ton of background acting, networked, because, you know, not every background actor is just a background actor. Background actors, a lot of them are trying to also do principal acting or have different other, you know, photographers and dancers and all that. You meet all sorts of people. Absolutely. It is one of the best places to network as a beginning actor. It's doing background, and you're making money. And you know, background acting, you rarely get seen on camera. You're a blur in the back. So, you know, it also, in a way, it helps you to kind of learn to be natural in your movements, right? Because if you're like all, you know, you act all weird in the back, even if you're a blur, it's going to look really bad. Yeah. And then they're going to get mad at you. So it's a good opportunity. There's so much to learn there. You can also people watch, right? You can see all the different personalities, you know, maybe start taking notes. I used to do that. I used to people watch and take notes on people and see some of their human tics, like what their tics are and all that. It's just such a fun opportunity. So I would say any new actor needs to do background acting, because it will give you so much knowledge that you just cannot learn in school or in any workshop, really. And again, it's a great opportunity to network with people. But there are also different groups. For example, I'm part of Asians in the Six, which is a like group of a group for performers of East and South Asian descent. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like we network, we have events.
Oh, it's great. Like, you know, we can put do they have a website or like a group, Facebook group we can put a link in?
We have a Facebook group, yeah.
Okay. I mean, are they okay putting their...
Oh yeah, I'm sure okay. They are. But yeah, like I'm just saying there's like a lot of these opportunities to meet other people. Mm-hmm. And, you know, or like, I don't know, if you're like an actor model, there's also like modeling meetups. I think you know about that, right?
Yeah,
like
there are modeling meetups. Yeah.
And then some of them are also trying to be actors. So just find different opportunities to network with people, or look up, like, sometimes certain acting schools have like a Christmas party or whatever for networking. Try to see if you can, you know, get a ticket to go to their Christmas party and network there too. There's, like I said, Toronto is huge, and Toronto has a lot of opportunities to network. And I know Toronto's also intimidating. It's big, and we have a weird reputation because everyone seems to hate us all over Canada. But we're not this cold, you know, uncaring city that everyone seems to think we are. We have a lot of loving people here who would love to you know, meet all the new people coming into our community.
Yeah, absolutely. That has been my experience as well, Mike. So before we get into, I know you alluded to a little bit that you're directing a little bit right now.
I'm not directing. I'm filmmaking.
Oh, you're filmmaking. So how is that different than? Sorry for the dumb question. How is that different than directing?
Okay. So prior to the pandemic, I never had any aspirations to be anything but an actor in this industry. And I focused all my energy on acting, and that's it. But when the pandemic struck, as an actor, I was out of work for like 6 months ish. We weren't auditioning, nothing. There was nothing. And Stephen Mann, who's a wonderful casting director in Toronto, basically to help keep everyone creative, decided to have like an online film festival. So his thing was like, submit a 3-minute or less film. You can film it any way you want. And, you know, let's select a bunch of them and have a nice little showing and an award ceremony.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it was great. And at that point, I was trying to become a Twitch streamer, but I didn't understand Twitch because I'm old and I'm not good of tech sometimes. So instead of streaming video games, I stream myself unboxing and eating food around my house.
Okay.
So
I think a lot of people did that during the
it's
pandemic.
like, ooh, look at this granola bar. It's apple cinnamon flavored. Okay, let's open it up. All right, I'm going to take a bite. Yeah, it tastes like oatmeal. Yeah, hints of cinnamon. Yeah, an apple.
And this was the video?
Good. Yeah, that was my Twitch stream live. I did this live every single day. It was really, really weird.
Yeah.
And nobody watched.
At least you didn't do the banana bread trend. Like, everyone was making banana bread.
No, I didn't do that. I don't know. I never fell into any of the pandemic trends. Yeah. But that's what I did. And then Steven comes along and is like, just make a film. I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, yes, this is a better idea. So I was playing Animal Crossing at the time, and my friend Timothy Ng, another actor.
Like the video game?
Yeah, on Nintendo Switch.
Like Animal Crossing video game?
Yeah, so I was playing it and he was playing it. And one of the things was, and I had another friend who was playing some mobile games. So inspired by my friend who likes to go to the bathroom and then play, to that was his playtime.
Like on his phone?
Yeah, I had a friend who was playing on his phone, playing mobile games in the bathroom. So he'll be like, okay, honey, I need to go to the washroom. And he goes and plays. And then it's usually like one of those online games, and he's like messaging his friends and all that. He'll be in the bathroom for like an hour.
His wife or his girlfriend thinking like,
his wife and kids. Oh my God, yeah, I know, right? So I got inspiration from all of this, and I called up Tim. I'm like, okay, so you know how you and I both play Animal Crossing? We visit each other's islands. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, I have this film idea. It's for Stephen Mann's film festival, where basically it's going to be like a Zoom. Like chat between the two of us, and I'm going to be all weird, and it just seems all normal because we're just talking about playing, but then you're just like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you whispering? Why are you so close to the cat, like your phone? And then when we zoom out, I'm on the toilet.
Oh, nice.
So
that just sounds funny.
Yeah, it was silly, but it was fun. And so we shot all this on both of our phones, and there is now a shot of me, with my pants down on a toilet.
In the bathroom?
Out in the public, yes.
How did you shoot? Like, did you have a camera, or like was the phone using your phone?
I used my cell phone.
Use your cell phone, okay.
I used my cell phone. He used his cell phone. The whole thing was shot, and then he sent me his footage. And I was terrible at Premiere Premiere Elements at the time, but and we hadn't really been doing self tapes yet, so I was like, okay, how do I edit this? Anyways, I put it all together and then sent it in, and. We didn't get selected, but it was a lot of fun. And then I sent the same film to a different festival in the UK, where I actually met my current podcast co-host, Alex Blackburn. It was his festival.
Wait, you have a podcast too, Mike?
I do. It's called the Hellbound Podcast. Alex Blackburn, who's from the UK, and he has his own film festival, the International Short Film Festival. And the Hellbound Horror Festival. So that's how I met him, like with this little Animal Crossing film of mine. And we talk about horror.
So did your film got selected in the UK?
Yeah, it did.
Oh, wow.
It did. So
Congrats.
I played, Alex had the same idea as Stephen Mann, create an online festival, encourage people to submit fun little films, and they'll screen it. And I got screened over in the UK, or technically on YouTube. But, so then from there, I was like, this was a lot of fun. I'm still not auditioning. The industry's not up. So why don't I make another one? So that's when I made my film, The Only Asian, which stars myself, Ginny Wong, and Katisha Shah. Katisha is my best friend. And Ginny is a good friend of mine who's also from Hero Artists. And the inspiration came from... So at that point, the industry had just started up again. We were doing self-tapes at home, and I landed a commercial role. So while I was like eating lunch at this commercial, I just came up with this silly idea because I was chatting with other people who were struggling during the pandemic because they had lost their agents. A lot of agents cut a lot of their talent.
Why is that?
It's money. They couldn't keep up with such a large roster during the pandemic.
But I thought they don't have to pay them unless they work.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work
To manage them?
Yeah. It's a lot of work. And, they cut people who weren't working as much loose, or people that didn't feel like they could, properly, push anymore. They needed to lower their workload so that they can rebuild. I know some agencies shut down too. Some retired outright. It was like, I'm retiring. It's a pandemic. So a lot of this happened. And here's the thing: a lot of BIPOC actors actually lost their agents during the pandemic. A lot.
You think they lost disproportionately more than regular non-BIPOC actors?
I can't say that because I don't have numbers. But I know in my own community, the Asian community, and again, this is East and South Asian, a lot of us lost our agents during the pandemic. A lot. So from discussions I've had with them, finding a new agent was also not an easy task because not everyone is looking. And also you have to consider that for an agency, they would be considering you based on how many, especially if you're BIPOC, how many like you there are on their roster already. And then you yourself have to ask yourself before you even apply, well, if they already have one of me or two of me, will they want three of me? Right? In this category.
Do you check these when you go to their website?
Oh, I do.
And
most people I know do. You check their rosters and see who they have and what can you bring to their roster. That's different. And in some cases, they have more than one of you. So you already know how many you're technically, quote unquote. I hate using the word competition. I don't treat acting as a competition, but how many of yourself essentially are you going up against for a role in your agency? How many of you are they submitting? And if they're going to push three of you for the exact same role, what are your chances compared to someone who's already more established with this agency? So there's a lot to think about. But I wanted to take a little comedic route about that with my film, so I created The Only Asian. And since Ginny and I were in the same agency and still are, I had the two of us basically have a Zoom call. And I'm like, so I heard you joined, you got a new agent. And it's my agent. And then she's like, yeah, and I'm like, there can only be one Asian. And then we had a Dragon Ball power-up screaming fight, and it's all this, and that little film that I made went on to be selected 40-50 times at film festivals, 26 awards, including a best actor for myself and best short film in multiple festivals, and then ended up playing at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Nice. Congrats, Mike. That's
Thank you.
So did you, so going back to filmmaking, you made that film.
I made it on my own. I wrote it, I produced it, I directed it, everything.
So is that what's considered filmmaking?
No. I mean, yes, but no. So after all that, Katisha also made her own fun little films, and she actually did one that was a satire on the U.S. election. And that one also...
the last one or the one that Trump got elected? Which one?
Oh, sorry, the last one.
The last one, okay.
Yeah, so she made, this whole jokey thing about Canadians watching as the U.S. burns.
Yeah.
And that one actually also won a bunch of awards, got selected. So the two of us are we're best friends. We both discovered this love of making stuff.
And you guys are good at it.
Yeah, so what can we do? We have a lot of connections. And so we started to put together a team. And over time, we started... So I'm not a director. I don't know how to direct. I mean, yes, I directed my own film, but I don't have the education or the knowledge or understanding to direct. Even though back in film school, they said I had director's minds because I'm overly analytical. But I'm a producer.
Okay.
So I fund and I set up and I put together the teams for, and I line produce on the films so we started a company called Psychopomp Dreams Entertainment. And so, I co-produce films with Katisha and other people who are part of Psychopomp, and then we make them. So before we even came up with our company name, we made a film called Hunting Darkness, which had an aswang, which is a Filipino demon monster that splits herself in half to hunt. So we did that. Oh yeah, and it got into a few festivals. It did well, but it's it's fun and hokey. And then our first official film under the Psychopomp banner, Fishbowl, it's on the festival circuit right now. It stars Katisha, Michael Delaney, Watson Rose, and then I have a small role in it as a news reporter. It's like horror adjacent. It's basically a tale. It's kind of like the story of Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain, yeah. But
so
like,
what's your production company called, Mike?
Psychopomp.
Psychopomp. We're gonna you have a website?
We do.
Okay, we're gonna put the link below.
Thanks. But yeah, like it's a great story about like a rock star and struggle with fame and substance abuse and all that, and then there's like a horror element to it. It's like a 12-minute film. It's done well. It won the Audience Choice Award at the New York Horror Film Festival, which is one of the biggest horror genre festivals in North America.
Mm-hmm.
So it's done really well, and so we're continuing. We're about to actually film another film that myself and Athena Park are starring in. We're the leads in a film that we're doing in May.
And you're producing?
I'm co-producing it. Mm. Yeah, again with Katisha and a few other people.
That's great.
Yeah, but we have Ryan M. Andrews, who's our writer. He's the one who writes all our scripts. He's also a director. He's a very good one, and I highly recommend you look up his movie Sick. Like it's a wonderful film. But yeah, like he's a genius. So he does all the directing.
Is he directing this new upcoming one?
Yes, he is.
Okay, nice.
Yep. So that's. But I'm a filmmaker, but as a producer. Will I ever direct? I don't know. I watch how directors work, and I do believe I need a little bit more education before I can even jump into something like that.
Wow. Well, you've already directed it, Mike, but that's very humble of you because you've already done that. So I guess you're right now you're looking into making these movies, and we'll definitely put the links below.
Thank you.
For your production company. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Mike, if you were to go back 10 years ago mm-hmm. or 15 years ago, however you want to call it, what were some of the things, would you do anything differently?
I would have joined the union a little later.
Okay.
Built up a bigger resume as a non-union performer. Built up my resume in the voice acting department because as a union actor, I still struggle to land voice acting roles. I actually, at the beginning of my career, spent most of my time doing voiceovers and theater. But once I joined the union, I basically transitioned into on-screen acting and nothing else.
But that's kind of what you wanted, didn't you want that?
Yes and no. I think, okay. Even now, I want a on-screen career along with a voice acting career because I know I'm good at voiceovers, but it's hard to break into. And that's a whole can of worms that I don't think I have time today to talk about. But like when I was non-union, I was doing a lot of voiceover work, and I wish I had done more. I wish I had done more animation, especially. It's just that I don't think that, and I don't really even use anything I did in the past on my demos now because they're too old. I don't think they're relevant. So, and then now I have to have like new stuff to put on there, and most of the stuff in my demos are like created in a studio for me as opposed to real work, and it gets pretty obvious that it's not real work. So yeah, it's difficult.
So you would join the union?
I would have joined later. I would have built up my voice acting part of my career a lot more, as well as my on-screen performances, and have stronger demo reels going into the union. I would have left my second agent 4 years earlier. I really would have. I probably wouldn't have dropped my weight down as far as I did. So that was never necessary. I actually booked more roles looking the way I do now than I ever did at that weight, because it's more my hit. In acting, we talk about hits, like what we can do. This is more my hit. This is where I think people, when they look at me, see me able to fit into different roles better. Yeah, and maybe there's not much else I can do because like I did everything I could, right? in some way, I admittedly, there were times I was desperate. So I did everything I could to succeed, to try to get myself booked. So there's,
which worked out, Mike. A lot of people don't see how much work you do. People out there, talking to successful people like yourself, like you mentioned, like 15, 16 years before you finally got a break. Like that's a long time to grind.
It is.
And then you've done that, and people don't get to see that. So
No.
So congrats on that.
Thank you.
I commend you for that, Mike. I guess I wanted to one of the things I do ask towards the end of the interview, as a city in Toronto, I know you did mention that Toronto has a lot of great opportunities, and we do have a lot of networking opportunities and groups. What do you think we could do to help people who are trying to get into this? Because I can already tell a lot of people who wants to be an actor, and they just look at the success rate and their parents, their society, or all the challenges that we talked about. They can just back out. Like you know what, I don't want to deal with this. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things we could do, you think, or has that ever occurred to you? Like, what can we do as a city or a community to foster this kind of creativity and artistry?
As a community, I think we are trying to do as much as we can already. I mean, like I said before, we have a lot of different groups and different, especially with the pandemic, it opened a lot of online doors in a way. We just formed so many different networking opportunities online, and with technology, we can meet people a lot more. I met so many of my friends and acquaintances now that I have now through Zoom.
We connected over social media.
We did.
Yeah.
And I joined a few script reading groups during the pandemic and made a bunch of friends, and there are still people who I only see on Zoom now and then. But it's always nice to see them, and we connect with social media, we write each other. I've never met them, but I always feel connected. So I think as a community, we are in the best place we've ever been in terms of networking and being connected. Now, if you want to talk about the city, I would say stop taking away our art spaces, like the CAA Theater.
And building condos there.
Look, I have no problem with development. I have problems with stupid development. If you're going to if you're going to build in an art space, keep the art space, right?
Absolutely.
Refurnish it, build on top of it, whatever. Don't just get rid of it. That is dumb. Create more art spaces. Put more tax dollars into the arts instead of taking it away. Arts is good for everybody. And let's be clear, we do the right thing in terms of tax breaks and all that. We can bring a lot of business from elsewhere and then put our people in it, which brings me to, not just at Toronto, but as Canadians, we need to be pushing our government to push for Canadian work and Canadian content. There's an odd thing going on right now where it seems that government policy is encouraging American and international productions to be able to bring their
own
people
actors?
more than ever before, and a push away from Canadian content and using local
that's
workers.
Stupid. Why is that?
Money somehow.
Really? But if our people got a job, it's better for our government.
I think they just want the productions to show up because there's money to be made there. I think we used to have a lot better protections for our Canadian content and our labor force in this industry than we do now. And I think we need to really ask ourselves, what exactly do we want when we allow other productions from elsewhere to come in? We want them. We want them here, but our talent is just as good, if not better, than theirs. There's no need to bring their own and to have their own dominate an entire production, right? So I think, that's two sections, right? I think the community is very connected now, more than ever, thanks to the pandemic. But it's our policy, our government, the structure and the bureaucracy that we have here that needs to get with the program and understand that they need to be supporting us. And quite frankly, it would bring way more money to our cities all across Canada if they support Canadian artists.
wasn't there? I heard from someone. I don't know if it's true. You probably know this better than me, Mike. Wasn't there like a big, I guess like big productions coming to Toronto? I thought Toronto was becoming like a big hub for international movies.
They are coming, but like I said,
is this more than before or less than before? Or by
well,
just
we are
years in?
building quite a few new studios over time.
Okay.
So yeah, we're bringing in a lot more, but again, they're able to bring their own people.
Oh, it has to align with the people, Canadians actually getting these jobs.
I want to see more Canadians getting to work.
Mm.
So fight for our rights, fight for our jobs, and give the Americans and the other international productions some incentive to hire us. Because I guarantee it'll bring a lot more tax dollars in the end.
All right, Mike. Thanks. We're coming to the end of our interview, Mike. But before I end it, I wanted to ask you a couple of things. Mm-hmm. One thing you did mention, one of the most powerful things that you mentioned was to believe in yourself.
Yes.
To believe in yourself, especially when the whole world is telling you no. Having a family, having a wife, and I know this, having a wife helps. Like, my wife is very supportive of me being a photographer, and mm-hmm. it helped me a lot. But a lot of people don't get to choose their family.
Of course.
What would your advice be to improve that belief in yourself?
Seek out like-minded people. The networking opportunities that I talk about has been very helpful to a lot of my friends who don't have the support of their family. Mm-hmm. They come to us. During the pandemic, I actually joined a group called the Pan-Asian Pandemic Players. It's just a smaller kind of support group, pandemic-centric, so we're not as active anymore, group for all of us to talk about as Asians.
Is this in Facebook or?
Well, we're more like a Facebook chat.
Okay.
But I'm just talking about them because I think it's important to find your people. Because if you don't have anyone in your immediate family or whatever that can support you, you'll find that the community has people here to support you. And the PPP, as we call ourselves, we have a few members like that, who just needed us to be there for them.
Absolutely. Yeah,
to be the cheerleaders for their careers and to do, when they do self-tapes, they need readers. Well, we're there for them. We're there for them over the internet to read with them and to help improve their art and just, cheer them along. And, we've seen amazing success with a lot of them, because they know that at the end of the day, they can just come online and find us here. They can just send a little message on our group chat and we're all there for them, right? There are so many groups out there, different, artistic enclaves and groups here in Toronto and, all over Canada. I think if you, like I said, find your people exist and they will be there for you no matter what. I
love that. Find your people. Thank you so much, Mike. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
If I may, the last thing I do want to talk about really quickly.
Yeah, of course.
So I have my own TV show coming out.
Oh.
So it's called The Popularity Papers. And it's based on the book series, the children's book series, The Popularity Papers. And it follows the story of two girls who are coming into their teenage years. And they kind of want to crack the code of popularity because they see there are all these popular kids. How do we make ourselves popular? So they start conducting social experiments called The Popularity Papers to try to get popular. But in doing so, they start growing, kind of figuring themselves out and come into their own and understand that popularity may not necessarily be what they want or need. And I played a dad of one of the leads, so I'm a supporting lead. And so our show, Popularity Papers, will be premiering in Canada on YTV and Stack TV on April 10th. That's Monday, April 10th.
Amazing.
Thank you, at 6 p.m. And honestly, I think it's a series that I very much believe in. The way the writers put the series together is that it's great for kids of all ages, but there's a lot of content for adults and not just parents, adults in general. We tried to make a show that everyone can watch. It's essentially a sitcom, but it's not as raunchy as PG-13 or adult sitcoms, right?
Yeah.
It's family friendly, but it is a sitcom. and it's a very good show. There's 26 episodes, which is huge.
You've shot all of them?
We've shot all of them.
Wow. How long are these episodes?
30 minutes.
Wow. Okay. That's great, Mike.
Yeah. So like YTV and BPC Studios, which is our backer, they really believe in us. And you know, there are not a lot of series that get me this excited, but this, I know I'm in it. I know I'm biased, but at the same time, I've sent I gave my goddaughter all 7 volumes of the book series by Amy Ignatow. She hand draws and hand writes every single page. Wow. Every single page. And my goddaughter fell in love with them. She has given the first volume to every single one of her friends for their birthdays. Like, the book series is incredible, and the TV series stays true to that, to how the books are. Not always the story, but more the essence of the book and what they're trying to tell. You know,
I'll be sure to checking them out.
Yes, please. So, Popularity Papers, Monday, April 10th, 6 p.m. YTV and Stack TV.
I know we have White TV, but for those who don't have, I guess, cable TV,
That's Stack TV.
Stack TV.
I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Yes,
it's like
Stack TV is on Amazon.
Subscription channels that come with different.
Yes,
I think
I have Stack TV.
Okay, yeah.
I think the Food Network is on Stack.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Because I think my in-laws might have Stack TV, but I'm just going to subscribe anyways. I've been pushing them enough online. I'm like, yeah, I should get it myself now.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mike.
You're welcome.
Anything you wanna share before we end it? For new and up and coming actors, you gave a lot of knowledge and a lot of advice for them. Anything else you want to share before we?
No, I think I'm good. Other than live long and prosper, I'm a huge Trekkie, and I am in Star Trek.
It's gonna be hard when you're an artist, but
yeah. So yeah, if anyone ever wants some advice, just hit me up on social media. I'm happy to talk to you about the industry, your career, or Star Trek.
Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right.